If Zendaya says it's a required read, then I have to know why. Today, I'm going to be reading Giovanni's Room for the first time. Zendaya did an interview with Jack Edwards.
Well, Zendaya, I have to ask you, what is your required reading? What are the books you think everyone should read?
My two favorite books are The Bluest Eye.
Oh, Toni Morrison.
Yes,
So
and
good.
Giovanni's Room.
I mean,
Those
the
are-
two goats.
It's very hard, like, once you read them to read anything else.
And he asked her what her required reads were. And she listed The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison and Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I instantly was like, oh, me and her might have similar book tastes, because last year my top read of the year was The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. And I actually picked up Giovanni's Room a couple of months ago because one of the book girlies said that they felt like I would really enjoy this book. And I said, yeah, I think so too, based on what she explained to me. I did pick it up a couple of months ago, but I ended up putting it down because I felt like I wasn't giving what I needed to give to this book. A literary genius, James Baldwin. I kind of felt like I was rushing through the story and missing tidbits, and I really didn't want to digest this story this way. So I put it down and I said, when I have a day where I can sit down and read the entire story, that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be reading it here, reading it there across several days, because I don't know, I just feel like I couldn't get the message from the story doing that. So I did put it down. But when my girl came out and said, go ahead and pick this up, it's required, I said, okay, girl, let me get into it. You always hear how James Baldwin is one of the greatest writers of all time, and I just cannot wait to experience his writing. So we're gonna do a reading vlog, and I'm gonna try to keep it as spoiler free as possible for the people that have not read this novel yet, but it's pretty popular. So let me know in the comments if you read it or not, but I feel like a lot of people have read it. I'm just catching up in life. We're gonna see by the end of this video if Giovanni's Room will also be added to my required reads list. Just finished the introduction to Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin, and we learned a lot about the background and the time period of when this book was written, and how back then this book was really shunned by the literary community. They kind of threw this book to the wayside. Even in modern times, the guy who wrote the intro, Kevin Young, said that he asked one of his professors about reading this book, and the professor basically was like, don't waste your time. So there was a lot of stigma around this book and other Black books during this time period, where if you wrote about taboo topics, then you were pretty much not taken seriously. I do feel like James Baldwin was well respected, but this work of art was not respected in his community. And we also learned that James Baldwin wrote the male main character from a white perspective, and I feel like there is a lot to unpack there, but I think overall James was trying to take out the racial aspect that comes with being a Black man, so he wrote it from a white perspective so that the reader wouldn't have any biases when it came to the male main character. He wanted the reader to be able to take his message without adding all of these different stereotypes. I don't think that's a spoiler. That's literally in the introduction of the book. I was really moved by this one line. It says that it's not one line, it's like one quoted paragraph. And I was trying to make a connection between the books and the life I saw and the life I lived. This life was one that others lived too, a lesson Baldwin learned sooner than some. You think your pain and your heartbreak are unprecedented in the history of the world, but then you read. Yes. I think a lot of times we feel like we have these anecdotal experiences until we actually realize that a lot of people are experiencing the same things that we are experiencing, and it's not really unique to anybody. I was really moved by that line. So with that being said, I will be annotating. I feel like I'm going to be annotating a lot in this story. All right, I got my annotation kit, colors. I gotta write down my legend. I haven't annotated in so long. I don't even know what I'm doing at this point. Let me got my highlighter, my pen, and this is the bookmark. I'm also timing my read because y'all know my ADHD brain, I have to time myself and give myself mental breaks. So I think I'm gonna probably do 45-minute sessions, take a break, do something around the house for 15 minutes, and probably hop back into the book. And this book is not long at all, y'all. Like, it should be a quick read. It's only 167 pages. I think that probably can take me around 3 hours to read. So let's see if we can complete this book today. Y'all, David is clearly out of control. Yeah, like this man and the decisions he's making. I'm literally only 30 pages in and I am just like, please, David, don't stress me out. He's clearly struggling with his masculinity and perception of himself from others, and he doesn't feel like he can really live his truth. But at the same time, he does these little, I don't know, like these things so that he can get a taste of the truth, I guess, a taste of his truth, like little sprinkles. And also a lot of his actions stem from not having a good support system in his family. His mother died when he was 5 years old, and his father is an alcoholic. And then he also has Ellen, who he doesn't really like either because she just is so overbearing and like making assumptions about him and his father's relationship. So he doesn't feel comfortable enough to talk to the grown-ups in his life. And that's where all of his behavioral issues kind of stem from in his childhood. And it's pretty much led into his adulthood because he's still making these chaotic, wild decisions instead of coming to terms with himself and living his truth. Okay? Live your truth. But I also understand that the time period that this book was written, anything outside of a heterosexual relationship was pretty much shunned. I understand to an extent his fear of coming out of the closet. I do. But David, we 30 pages in and you got me stressed out. I'm going to take a 15-minute break. I want to go water my plants. I may or may not read outside. If my hammock isn't too wet, we'll see. But I definitely need to water my plants, check on my babies. They are growing so much, y'all. I'll try to give y'all a little sneak peek, but I have to like update y'all on everything going on with the garden. I just made it to part 2, and y'all, this book is so freaking good. You could definitely feel that this is leading up to this tragedy event with David and Giovanni, but I cannot put the book down. I can't put the book down. It's so good. David is still struggling with his internal battle, and I think now that him and Giovanni have actually been intimate with each other, we're gonna see a break in his personality. Y'all, sometimes the deer be in the backyard scaring me. A lot has happened, y'all. A lot has happened, and I don't want to spoil it, but we're definitely at a climactic part of the story, like what he didn't want to happen happened. So now we're trying to figure out what's about to happen with Giovanni. So I just know that doom is impeding at this point. I love character driven stories because I like to do character analysis. I like to see the way characters develop throughout the story, and I'm always looking for that in stories. I don't know, it just gives me a different perspective of how other people operate in their lives. So I just find it very interesting to think about. Anyways, it's about time for me to go pick up my baby, and then when I get back, we about to wrap this up. And I didn't read in the hammock because, first of all, it's way too hot outside. And second of all, the grass is very long and I didn't want to go over there. I decided that I was just going to walk on the treadmill for 15 minutes because I'm really trying to get 10,000 steps a day now. It's just getting the energy to do it. Y'all, I just made it to part 2, chapter 4, and overall, David is a menace. He is a menace because he knows deep down what his desires truly are, but he can't accept that. Like, he literally can't accept that. His outer physical and his inner soul, inner being is fighting against each other, and because of that, everybody around him suffers. Everybody he interacts with, I just feel like he brings some type of negative with it, and he is reaping all of the rewards while he's sending these people into emotional spirals. I haven't read a good book like this in a minute, so I can see why they say James Baldwin is one of the greats, because this is a very thought-provoking read. David, I just really need him to get it together. But I know he never gets it together because we already know kinda where all of this leads to. So, this is why they say fix yourself first before you go hopping into another relationship. Because why you bringing all this over here? Do people actually think about how their decisions affect others? Because constantly in this book, he's saying, well, Giovanni already knows what it is, so I'm gonna do what I want to do. Y'all, okay, we are literally at the end road here. I literally have 40 more pages, so I can probably finish that in an hour or so and we will be done. I'm so happy I picked this up. I feel like this has motivated me. I'm not saying I haven't been motivated lately, but I just haven't been inspired lately to read anything. I've been reading, but I haven't really been feeling anything, if that makes sense. But this, I'm back. I'm back. Zendaya, okay, girl.
Beyonce, okay, girl.
You are right. 5-star. Yeah, when I tell you I ate this up, I haven't been enthralled in a book in a minute. Like, I've read some good books recently. I sure have. But for a book that just put me down like this book did, I don't know. I haven't felt that in a minute. And I don't know if it's because I really took my time to sit down and read the book, you know, because I do a lot of like listening, then coming home reading, and I read a lot on my Kindle, but man, it's nothing like holding the physical book in your hand. I miss this. Like, I need to get back into physical books because I felt very immersed in the story. I was not trying to stop reading this book all day today. Like, I was thinking about when my next sprint was going to be so I can pick this book up again. This book gave a great depiction of a person who cannot accept themselves. They truly have a identity issue, and it stems from the societal pressures that we put around men. And I think I've said this before, that we put a lot of pressure on the man, and especially during this time period, it was completely unacceptable to be anything but heterosexual. So I do understand to an extent our male main character struggles, but at the same time, his struggle of identity led to so much chaos in everybody's lives that he touched. His selfishness is what really got me. It was a disregardment of everybody around him and their feelings, and it was so crazy for him to say that he felt nothing multiple times. So it's a lot of issues going on. Like, he's incapable of love, even though he said he loves Giovanni. Also incapable of self-reflection and basically able to accept the truth about what was truly inside of himself. I hope I'm making sense. This was an identity crisis if I ever seen one. And it's so crazy how he looked at Jock, I believe, and I don't know how to pronounce the other man, the owner of the club. I'll put his name on the screen. I can't say his name, and I'm a little too sleepy right now. It's amazing how he looked at them two with disgust, but to me, I feel like he carried a lot of those same characteristics on how he behaved around men. It was a lot. It was a lot dealing with Mr. David. And I think in the end, he got what he deserved. And I would actually say that he kind of got off good. Like, he still gets to live his life while everybody around him kind of went into a downward spiral, even though he felt so much shame. It was always so much shame about what he was doing, but he didn't really show me that he wanted to change his actions. And I feel like as soon as another opportunity comes, he's going to be hopping into bed with somebody else and driving them down the same crazy path because he refuses to accept who he is. I can go on and on and on. Mr. Baldwin is exactly who he thinks he is, or who he thought he was, because he ate that. The way he used Giovanni's room as a parallel to a prison, but at the same time, the prison was the only place David could be himself. But outside of that, it was back on his BS. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't with all this. But I thought that was a great way to parallel the characters' emotions and how they developed in the span of time in Giovanni's room. That's what I'm talking about. Do y'all understand? That's what I need from these books. And he gave it to me. Anyways, y'all, I am so sleepy. I can barely get a thought out. So I'm definitely going to be giving a full, more detailed review later when I can get some sleep and some rest and sleep on it. But I already know this is 5-star. If you have not read Giovanni's Room yet, go ahead and listen to my girl Zendaya and now me pick it up. Okay, good night.